In this video, we will go over how to track all your invoices and payments. When you first log a job, an invoice will automatically be generated for you. Let's take a look at an existing single work order. We will select this Cherry Hill Office Park work order, which is still currently in an open status. You will notice that while you are filling out the work order that you do have an Invoice and a Payments tab. Let's come over and take a look at the invoice. Since the work order is still in an open status, the invoice will act like a carbon copy. You will notice that the status for the invoice is not issued and there is no issue date logged. As soon as you close the work order, your invoice will automatically change the status to being unpaid, and it will log an issue date from the last date of your service. If you hand the invoice over to your customers prior to completing your work orders, you can always come in to edit the invoice, and we can manually log an issue date for when you had handed the invoice over to them. But before we do that, let's come over to the work order and we'll close it. As you can see, as soon as I had closed the work order, my status changed to unpaid. It logged the issue date, the same date as my last date of service, which if you are handing the invoice at another period of time or later on, you can always change this date. You can also set a payment period for how much time they have to pay you. So this person owes me by February 10th. You will also notice that the billing contact and billing location pulls over straight from the customer record. If Susan is paying the bill this time instead, we can select her, or maybe we can also add an additional person here if Phil and Susan tell us that someone else will be paying the bill. Any new entries that you add in here will automatically save to Phil's customer record. You can do the same thing with the billing location. In your charges, you will notice that the charges from the work order do pull over to the invoice. You can make any changes here as necessary if you need to edit any of the charges, perhaps remove any charges, or perhaps you need to add more products and services to the charges. You will notice the subtotal for the entire invoice, if we had provided any discounts, if we charged a tax, and what the current total for the bill is. Now currently Phil has not paid us anything, so he still has a full balance. We also have the option here to add any invoice notes. If we would like to let Phil know that we have completed the work or make any notes about the work we did. The invoice notes will show up on the footer of your invoice right following the charges. Okay, so let's click Save to save this invoice. From here, you can either print out a copy for Phil, or we can just email this directly to him. You will see that it automatically picks up Phil's email address, and I can CC myself if I would like. And I can also CC other folks. My invoice email comes through looking like this, and this is a template that you can actually set up in your settings. Your invoice will come through as a PDF attachment with the email. After you have provided to the invoice to your customer, you can go directly to the Payments tab to add a payment. Before we do that, let's talk about tracking your invoice. There are a few ways to do this. First, Let's come back to the Cherry Hill Office Park, your customer's record. From your customer's record, you will be able to tell if they have a balance, and you can scroll down to see what open invoices they have, which it looks like they do owe me a lot of money. For the invoice that we were looking at, which was number 114, from here, if your customer calls you to either dispute the bill or perhaps they would like you to send them another copy, you can always select to view or edit the bill. You can also add your payment from here when they are ready to pay you. From your Payments tab in the customer record, you will also be able to see the last 3 payments that this customer has provided to you. If you have a customer who prepays you or would like to log a credit amount, you can always do it straight from the customer record. Let's do that for this customer. We will click on a green plus sign to add payment. We will say that they handed me a payment, let's do earlier in the year. They gave me about $50 and asked me to apply it to their next bill. Okay. From here, we will return to the customer record. Within the customer record, and now under the Payments tab, you will see that now we have an unapplied amount of $50, which we can apply to an open invoice. Okay. Before we do that, let's look at another way to track your open invoices. We'll come to the main Accounting tab. Your Accounting tab will show you invoices for all of your customers. You can use the customized views to view just open invoices, or you can view all, which will show you open and closed invoices. Okay. I would like to view my open invoices, and I am searching specifically for the one that we were just working with. Again, from your Accounting tab, you can click to view, edit, or in this case, the customer is ready to pay, so we're going to add a payment to this invoice. As soon as I click Add Payment, it will return me straight back to the invoice that we were previously on, and it will notice right away that your customer does have a credit amount. I can either select to use this credit amount to pay it towards this bill, or we can select to create a new payment. Let's use this credit amount. As soon as I select to use the credit amount, we can use the $50, or you could use a partial amount of the credit to go towards this bill. I'm actually going to use the full amount of $50, and we will select Save. Now that we have logged the payment for $50, we can return to our invoice, and you will notice the status has changed to partially paid. If we scroll down, we will also see that the invoice now logs a payment of $50 received, and there's a remaining balance of $39.26. From here, I can always print or email the new updated invoice to the customer. However, let's say that they are ready to pay the remaining amount now. We can go directly to the Payments tab, and we will add a payment. From here, you can log the date that you received the payment. You can record the payment type. Let's say, for example, I received the rest in a check. And then you want to record the total payment amount. Let's say, for example, that this customer decided to round it up, and they gave us $50 for the remaining amount. On the right hand side, you will notice that Service CEO will calculate that your bill was only $39.26, and we actually have a remainder of $10.74. Be sure in your amount and tip boxes that you fill in the amount that is going towards the bill, which we are paying the remainder of the bill. However, we are also logging a tip of $10.74. As soon as we do that, you will notice that your calculations balance out. And we will hit save. Once we have logged that payment, we can return to the invoice and you will see that the status has been fully paid. The balance is at 0, and this will also reflect in both the customer record and under your main accounting tab. This concludes our video on tracking your invoices and payments. If you have any questions, be sure to contact your customer success coach or contact our support team.